Today I'm going to review dividing with fractions. Let's start with a visual of dividing with a fraction. As you can see here on the screen, I have 3 whole circles and each one is divided up into 8 sections or 8 pieces, and you can see them marked 1/8 each. And so what this problem is illustrating is taking 3 and dividing it by 1/8. I'm essentially looking at how many 1/8ths are in 3 whole items. And so if you would go through and count up your pieces, you will see that there are 24 total. So notice that there are 8 sections of 1/8 in each whole circle. And so since there are 3 total circles, you can say 8 times 3 or 3 times 8 equals 24. If you look at the second problem that I have on here, we can see that I rewrote this problem by saying that I have 3 over 1 times 8 over 1 equals 24 over 1, which equals 24. And what I'm demonstrating there is that if we took our original problem where I'm saying how many 1/8ths are in 3, or 3 divided by 1/8, if I took that 3 and multiplied it by the number of pieces in each one, which is 8, I can see that I get my total 24. So the conclusion that we can see here is that by dividing, when we're dividing with a fraction, it's going to be equivalent to multiplying by its reciprocal. The reciprocal is when we take that fraction and we flip it. And so for any division problem that you have, if you multiply by the reciprocal, you're going to get the same result. So we can take that and apply that to our rule. So you can divide fractions by simply multiplying by the reciprocal. And as a review here on this slide, I have what's a reciprocal again. So a reciprocal is when the numerator and denominator of a fraction are switched, or as I explained earlier, you essentially are just flipping that fraction. So multiplying a fraction by its reciprocal always results in a product of 1. And so here I've demonstrated this with our different types of fractions, our different types of numbers. And so my first one I have is 7/8, and so its reciprocal is 8 over 7. Notice that when you have that fraction format, numerator over denominator, you are just switching the two. And then you can see that, okay, if we take the 7/8 and we multiply it by its reciprocal, 8 over 7, we end up with 56 out of 56, which is a whole item. So it equals 1. That checks out. If you start out with a whole number, remember that a whole number can be rewritten as a fraction by putting it over 1. So 5 is the same as 5 out of 1, and its reciprocal is 1 over 5. And again, you can see that play out where you end up with a whole item. If you start out with a mixed number, you can switch that to a numerator over denominator or an improper fraction. And so if you have a whole item plus another 1/8, you would have a total of 9/8. And its reciprocal is 8 over 9. And again, you can see that that checks out. You end up with 72 over 72, which is also a whole one. So just to recap here, whenever you have a fraction, you just flip it for its reciprocal. If you have a whole number, rewrite it as a fraction and then flip it. And if you have a mixed number, write its equivalent form as an improper fraction. And then again, you can flip it, and those are going to be the reciprocals. So we're going to take that knowledge and we're going to apply it to this rule that whenever you're dealing with a division problem that includes a fraction, you want to first follow these, you're going to want to follow these steps. So first, step 1 is you want to look and see, okay, I see that I'm dividing, I see a fraction's involved. Is everything in that fraction format of numerator over denominator? If not, you're going to go ahead and make those changes, which means if it's a whole number, put it over 1. If it's a mixed number, convert it to its equivalent improper fraction. So looking at this, we can see my first example, I just have a fraction divided by a fraction. And so my recommendation is to write those letters KCF right above your problem, and that can guide you through your steps. So the first one, the K, is keep. And so you can see that you just copy down the same fraction. The C is for change. So you're going to change the division to multiplication. And then the F is for flip. And so that's where you're going to write down its reciprocal or flip your numerator and denominator. Once you follow the KCF or keep, change, flip, now you have the equivalent multiplication problem to your division problem. And then you're just going to follow your rules for multiplication. So you're going to multiply your numerators. You can see here 7 times 3 is 21. Then you're going to multiply your denominators. 8 times 2 is 16. Now, my last step is going to be to simplify. So if you are looking to see, are there any common factors you can divide top and bottom by? You're also looking to see, as in this example, if your numerator is larger than your denominator, you have more than one, you can change that to a mixed number. And so you can see that this one is equivalent to one whole item, and then my remainder of 5 is placed over the denominator. Now, if you need some assistance with changing back and forth between mixed numbers and improper fractions, check out my video on that. All right, my next example here is where now I can see that fractions are involved because I have a mixed number that includes a fraction piece to it. And so I do need to do that first step on this one where I want to change everything to fraction form. So we can see I wrote my equivalent form for 4 as 4 over 1. And then I changed my mixed number to an improper fraction. So if I have 2 whole items and 1/3, that would be a total of 7/3. Now, once you have everything in that fraction form, numerator over denominator, what you want to do is at that point, go ahead and write down your guiding letters on top, KCF, and then follow those steps. So keep, change, flip, multiply your fractions. So we can see 4 times 3 is 12, and 1 times 7 is 7. And again, this one also resulted in an improper fraction where the numerator is bigger than the denominator, which shows that I have more than one. And for this one, I have one whole item with 5 left over, and that's where I get my 5/7. And so that concludes our steps today for going through those rules for dividing fractions, keep, change, flip. And again, if there's pieces of this, such as changing mixed numbers to improper fractions, or if you need more assistance with multiplying fractions, check out some other videos.